Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, the fellas, for the first time in a while, going live. First edition of the college football playoff rankings. And Dill, not as many disagreements as I probably expected. And I would invite everybody, let it fly in the comments section. Everybody who's looking at these rankings has certain disagreements that they probably have. So let it fly in the comments section. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas on a Tuesday night. And Dill, I'll put you on the tee box. Where biggest surprise or biggest disagreement that you want to get off your chest right off the bat?
Probably Oregon. I detest them being behind
Feels low, man.
teams. And honestly, it kind of puts them in a weird predicament that, like, are they in with 2 losses? And I would have thought pretty much like most of the Big Ten teams, especially the Big Ten teams that kind of have the vibe that they're playoff teams, like 2 losses, I would have thought would be a lock. But I look at where they have Oregon right now. I don't know. Is it a lock? I don't know that it is.
That is one of the biggest things that I learned from these playoff rankings. I don't think Oregon can get in with a 10-2 record. I think they need to win out. Now, they go on the road to Kinnick Stadium this weekend. They obviously play USC later on in this month. I think Oregon is expected to win out, but if you're Dan Lanning, you kind of know you don't have that leeway to drop 2 games, because that Penn State game that we thought was going to be a very valuable win ain't looking so hot anymore. That was my biggest surprise, because I will say this, I know they're leaning more into the analytic side of things, and I'm not necessarily opposed to that either. Oregon feels like a team that, even with 2 losses, probably should wind up in the college football playoffs. Although we'll see, because this is by far a very difficult stretch for Oregon in the month of November. Dill, you want to open up the conversation regarding Texas at 11? I'll put you on the tee box.
I don't mind it. I think, again, you look like, they've had some gross moments. I mean, honestly, against Vanderbilt is probably the best they've looked all year. And I know final score, that kind of looked tight. That was a pretty good beating, I'd say, for the most part. Again, kind of fell asleep a little bit in that fourth quarter, maybe. But if Texas can play like that on offense and they can get those weapons kind of clicking and Arch can play with just some confidence, I don't know. Texas, to me, like, they've had a tough loss against – well, Ohio State was honestly a good loss. Like, I'd probably how I'd categorize that, because it almost felt like they were the better team aside from Arch Manning playing really, really poorly. So I'm okay with having Texas there.
Does Texas get in with 3 losses? I feel like we're kind of setting up time. Well, here's the thing. So I say, does Texas get in with 3 losses, which means they lose 1 more game, but they'll either collect a win on the road at Georgia or against Texas A&M at home as well. Does a 9? To me, putting them at 11 is setting them up for an opportunity that they can get into the playoffs even with 3 losses on their schedule.
I guess, but they'd need like help. Like, they'd need Louisville to drop a game. I probably don't expect Louisville to drop. I think they would need help to get in with 9 or 3 losses still. Again, I think honestly the best outcome is probably that win against A&M. If I were to pick one of those games to win, maybe Georgia or A&M, I'd probably pick A&M.
What do you think the committee like more? Going on the road and beating them Georgia Bulldogs?
No, it's got A&M is so good right now, and I know that'll be a home game. Or I believe
you think Texas A&M is really good, as do I. I'm telling you, I'm asking you, what do you think impresses the committee the most? And I'm guessing that if you go on the road to Athens, Georgia, and beat Georgia,
I can't fathom people are still thinking of Georgia like that team right now. They are, to me, kind of a distant 4 at this, or a distant 5, I should say, at this point. Like, they, to me, haven't ever put the dominance on that. We've seen Alabama play some like dominant football at times. It's been a little bit inconsistent for sure, but we've seen dominant ball. We've seen dominant ball from those other 3 teams, obviously. Georgia, to me, you haven't really seen them play elite football at all in this year. So
I think that's fair.
Texas A&M's the big win. Texas A&M, to me, is a bona fide top 3 team. I don't think there's a ton of separation with those 3.
Okay, let me pull this in a different direction here, because we're seeing head-to-head show up with Virginia and Louisville, right? And then we see head-to-head show up again another time, and that is with Miami, Notre Dame. I don't dislike – it's not that I necessarily disagree with putting Notre Dame ahead of Miami. What I disagree with the most is the gap between those two teams. Like Miami did beat Notre Dame head to head, and I know Miami has 2 ugly losses, but they also have an impressive win against Notre Dame. They have a win against USF, who's not in these rankings. That certainly hurts Miami. They have a win against Florida. What's your take on Miami being 18th with the caveat of Notre Dame being a top 10 team according to these rankings?
I think that's probably where it should be. I do think it matters when you're playing your best ball. Like to me, Miami, I kind of know they got off to a ripping start, but I don't know the way they're playing right now. I just don't have a ton of faith. Like even in that SMU game, it's like, of course, you all knew Miami was the better team. Everyone who was watching it could very clearly say that. But they have not in any way made any progress on cleaning up their issues. Like they still take the same penalties. They still play like really sloppy situational football, bad in the red zone, bad.
It's a freaking Mario Cristobal.
But that's like, that has to matter. Like Notre Dame, I do feel like is making some progress. I think the defense is getting a little bit better. I feel more confident. Miami, to me, yeah, I think they're like, honestly, from like just a pure on the field between the lines for the most part, kind of feels like a top 5 team to me, but they're horrible in situations. And it's, I don't have enough confidence to really bump them above Notre Dame right now. And even
but see, you're misinterpreting my question to you was not, should Miami be above Notre Dame? I understand why they have Notre Dame above Miami. My bigger issue is the gap between those two teams. Like, what do they do with Virginia and Louisville? Like they just stuck them right next to each other. Said, all right, we're going to give Virginia the nod because of the head-to-head with Miami Notre Dame. Why is there as big of a gap? And Miami does have a very impressive win against Notre Dame.
It's because you got gross, like really kind of gross losses. I'd say the SMU losses, it's really, really bad. Like SMU is not a particularly great team to me. So to me, I think that matters. Like showing that you can lose to like those real down and out squads, like what I kind of see SMU as. Yeah. I don't love that loss.
Do you think Miami has a chance to make it into the playoffs if they run the table in the month of November? With the caveat being, hey, Pitt, and that's big. If you are a Miami fan, you love to see that Pitt logo because you go on the road at the end of the month. And if they are a top 25 team when you play them, that's an opportunity to make that final pitch, make that final statement that you're a college football playoff team. That's the good news for Miami. There's bad and good news. The bad news is ain't 18th. That is a little bit lower than I think Miami fans were hoping for. The good news is we're showing a little bit of love. Although I disagree, we're showing a little bit of love to them Pitt Panthers, which I think is a good thing for Miami to build their resume in November.
And to me, Miami still certainly has a shot because I look like Texas Tech, BYU, both like BYU especially has played a lot of really close games against really bad football teams. So to me, do I really see it likely that they run the table? No, and I don't think those teams can afford much like wiggle room because they just don't play hard enough schedules. Again, you're certainly going to get at least one Big 12 team in. I don't think you're getting 2. I don't know, like Texas, to me, if they lose another game, Miami could certainly jump them. Oklahoma, kind of same thing. So I certainly see a path for Miami. I don't know that they control their own destiny, which is probably the problem.
No, they do not. But you do look at the teams above them, and there's a lot of chaos potential. Like heck, Vanderbilt plays Auburn. That is a very losable game for Vanderbilt because we all know that the danger that Auburn is. Louisville, Virginia, they haven't inspired confidence that they're going to take care of business every single week, and they've been in a lot of close games. And then you obviously look at the Big 12 as well. Texas, there's a lot of flux with that program as well. Oklahoma has to go on the road and play out. How about this? Hey, Oklahoma, 3 losses. Does Oklahoma have an argument to maybe get themselves in?
Yeah, I think Texas has a pretty strong case because that's a really brutal schedule they play.
But I think Texas has the better argument because, number one, they have the head-to-head win, and number 2, they played Ohio State out of conference. Oklahoma played Michigan out of conference. And again, like Texas has the opportunity late in this year to notch some monster wins when it comes to building your resume. And I would argue, again, with them coming in at 11, it feels like they just need to go 2-1 here, man. Like go steal a win against either Georgia or Texas A&M, and you got a really good shot to make the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. But again, you would need Oklahoma to probably lose another game. You'd need Louisville to lose games. Like you'd need a lot of teams to lose probably. And frankly, you'd probably wouldn't want to see like a Michigan go up and upset Ohio State because then that runs into
Oh,
a bit.
Michigan is the real X factor for a lot of these teams. If you're there's two teams really that I think have, paths. They got 1-game seasons. And I shouldn't say that because USC, everybody's talking about USC playing Oregon, which is by far the biggest game left on their schedule. They also have to play a team like Iowa. Sneaky one.
All right, you're going to drag me into the Iowa thing right now. Iowa, to me, I am stunned to see them up there at 20. Iowa State is not a particularly good football team in my mind. To have that be like a loss, and again, what is like the win you're pointing to? Like Minnesota? Minnesota is definitely a good win, but I don't see how you can build a top 20 resume on the back of the Minnesota win, and then like some of the grossness that you've seen from Iowa. So
yeah, I'm not going to bang the table for Iowa.
That's why I like Iowa. To me, USC, like, and again, USC has some flaws, so there's certainly always the chance they can lose, but they should beat Iowa at the end of the day. Like, they are a much better team than Iowa.
I think that's a little disrespectful to Iowa, at least in my end. Here, we're going to figure out Iowa real quick. Oregon's going on the road to Kinnick Stadium this weekend.
They're going to get walked. Like, Iowa's going to get walked I think Iowa is a very ultra one-dimensional. Mark Gronowski is not the guy I thought they were getting. Like, I was kind of excited for them when he came over.
You hate this state. What is the deal with you in the state of Iowa?
Do you think they're the 20th best team? It's just like
Well, it feels like every year we have the conversation about either Iowa or Iowa State, and you're just dying on the hill that you don't mess with that state, which
because they are bad teams. They're just like they always like feel just overrated. They're almost like the opposite of Miami. They are in the actual spate of the game horrible, but then they do really good situationally, and that's kind of both of them. So it's like, to me, I don't know, that gets the job done against mediocre teams. It obviously does. Iowa never beats good teams. Iowa State, kind of same thing. They don't really beat good teams that often, either of them.
You better go to sleep tonight hoping Oregon takes care of business on the road.
Oh yeah, someone would put this and really make me look like a jerk.
All right, so Michigan and you back to, you kind of got me steered off with Iowa. Back to Michigan and USC. Those are the two, in my opinion, chaos teams. When you look at teams that have 2 losses, in control of their own destiny, who are outside, because I look at Miami and say, Miami's got 2 losses. I'm not sure if they're in control of their own destiny. When you look at USC and Michigan, they have 2 losses.
Well, do you think Michigan fully controls it? Because what if USC runs it and Michigan runs it? Do you think like there could be a bit of an issue? Like, well, you can't really jump Michigan over USC, and you're kind of. I would see those teams sitting kind of in the last man out conversation a little bit. I don't know. Michigan has a weird path to maybe not control.
No, I think if Michigan beats Ohio State, which we think will be the number 1 ranked team at that time at the end of the year, because also I'd have to do the calculations on that. Well, I think that we'll know USC has 1 loss in the Big Ten too. I'm not sure if I'm prepared to make crazy statements right now. My brain not powerful enough to do that. I'll say this. I would be stunned that if Michigan takes care of business, beats Ohio State at the end of the year, would be stunned if they're left out of the college football playoffs. But I do think you make a good point with USC too.
That could be
enough chaos at the top. How many? All right, let's take this by a conference approach now. And sorry, the boys been a little all over the place. Normally we have a little bit more of a regimented conversation. Let's start with the Big 12. Do we both agree that this is a 1-bid league?
It better be. Here, yes. I'll be in the streets. I am an anti-Big 12 as you can get. I do think it matters when like you're in the SEC and you need to get up every week. Like even A&M, like you think like, yeah, I know Auburn's resume isn't going to look great at the end of the year, and they are a very flawed team. Auburn would like be running the table if they were in the Big 12, if we're being perfectly honest. Like that defense would be a huge problem for I don't know. Maybe you could point to that Baylor game and say you're out of your mind if you're looking at me. But Auburn, to me, is a much tougher opponent than almost any Big 12 team if Auburn's like playing good football. So to me,
okay, 1-bid league. Got it. Don't like the Big 12.
You can skate through.
ACC. This is where the wrinkles start to come in, and I'd have to sit down and map it out a little bit more. Maybe by next week it will be a little bit more mapped out. How many teams do you think get in from the ACC with Miami now having 2 losses?
I think at most 2, right? I couldn't see more than 2. Unless like how could
Definitely
more
two at the most. I think we're teetering on
one
maybe
bid?
only one. Yeah. Right.
It's like honestly, I'd say like, look, do I really think Virginia is going to be in the mix when to me it's like they've kind of been skating through like really close wins, kind of similar to like almost like BYU. I see it, so they're teetering on 1. I don't see how they get more than 2 though, because it just the math wouldn't shake out.
Yeah, and then we'll see some Big Ten and SEC presence is probably what I would predict. You want to call your shot? You want to talk about a team that you think's out? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't have an answer for me, you don't have to answer this. Any team outside of the top 15 do you think sees a big rise in the rankings in the month of November and finds their way into the college football playoffs? Or I'll give you 2 options because you're probably not prepared for that question. Or you can go with a team that is in the top 12 that you think falls out of the top 12 when it's all said and done. And you can't say a Big 12 team because we get it. You don't think 2 Big 12 teams are getting in. You get to pick either a faller or a riser. The tee box is yours.
Give me Mizzou for a riser. I think Mizzou. Look at that line against A&M. Just like be a little cognizant of it, because I think most of us would have looked at it and said, "What? That's sitting inside a touchdown." I think most of us would have thought that's nuts. You got an a true freshman quarterback, I should say, making his first start against a team like A&M. I think Mizzou is a really good team, and frankly, I'm kind of interested to see what they can be with Zollers, because they weren't getting a ton from Bo Pribula in terms of what he was doing.
I am kind of happy you brought up Missouri, right? And I disagree with you just because they play Texas A&M this week and they have to go on the road and play Oklahoma later in the month like that.
Hey, you got to be able to play some good teams to be a big riser.
No, I agree.
That's why Miami can't exactly be a big riser, because they're playing cupcakes kind of at the end of the day.
I agree with you. Here's what I'll say though. What if Matt and then look, I've been on the Missouri message boards. Like there's some sentiment that maybe Matt Zollers is that guy. And I loved him coming out of high school. I think this kid's a stud, and I think he provides a lot more from a downfield passing attack.
And they have some sick wideouts if they can unlock it a little bit.
Okay, they have Kevin Coleman. Not to be mean to Missouri, but like what else did Donovan Olode? Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, yeah, I don't
Johnson, kind of fun.
Getting up here and saying Missouri wideouts are sick. That seems
no. Like you're saying they're not sick because they've had a kind of a not a great quarterback.
You're getting me distracted. You're getting me distracted here. What I'm trying to say is, what if that's true? Like, what if? Because when you go and look at Missouri when they lost that game to Alabama, what was the real sticking point there? It was Bo Pribula. Outside of that one scripted drive in the first drive, like he wasn't, when he was asked to sit in the pocket and process and make high-level throws down the field to beat a very good Alabama team, it wasn't there. What if you get that from Matt Zollers? Matt Zollers is a way more talented thrower of the football. If that is true, Missouri does get interesting. I just don't know if they're a good enough pure football team to beat Texas A&M or go on the road and beat Oklahoma, but Missouri is here's the thing with Missouri. Man, they're as complete as they come. You know, you're used to talking about Georgia and Alabama having that elite pass rush that can just whip you. That team, one of those teams in the SEC this year is Missouri with Damon Wilson and Zion Young. And they obviously can run the piss out of the football too. Missouri intrigues me. We're going to learn a lot Saturday afternoon against Texas A&M.
Who's your riser if it's not going to be Missouri? I don't really see any.
You know who I'm going with.
I love Tennessee.
You know who I'm going with. I'm going with Michigan. Michigan at 21. Now, hear me out. You can say it's a homer take. Hear me out. Can I get an early weather report in Ann Arbor, Michigan, late November? Because this is what I was saying. This tells you how sick ticket I am. Sitting in the shower last night, selling myself on Michigan making the playoffs, man. Well, like I normally do. It's like classic shower thoughts, right? Classic shower thoughts. And I was like, Julian Sayin looks awesome, right? I mean, Julian Sayin looks like one of, if not the best quarterback in the country. Ain't going to get no pushback from me. Southern California kid, man. Like, what's he look like when it's 28 degrees and a little bit windy? Maybe you get a little bit of a snow game there. Like, if you get poor conditions and you have a SoCal, has Julian Sand thrown in the winter one time in his life? Probably not, right? Probably not. And so what if that game looks like that? And again, we know Ryan Day's got that monkey on his back. Because though I know what the monkey on the back feels like because I'm a Michigan fan. I had that monkey on my back dang near my whole life. And so that that game gets a little wonky. I think Michigan should take care of business. And I get it. They haven't looked great. But if you get some weather conditions in a weird rivalry game, I kind of selling myself on Michigan. And Michigan's got one game to get in. They don't need help either. Like, that's the other conversation too. You got one game at the end of the year against Ohio State to get into the college football playoffs. There's a lot of other teams that need to navigate multiple big games and need other things to happen. Michigan really only needs it. They just got to take care of business and win that game at the end of the year. Fallers.
I think Georgia. I think Georgia can very easily lose some of these upcoming. Like, I would, if you get what you saw from Arch Manning to me against Vanderbilt, I think there's a very good chance Texas can beat that Georgia team.
Okay, but even if I mean the rest of their schedule at Mississippi State this weekend, Charlotte, Georgia Tech. And I know you don't love Georgia Tech. I just don't see Georgia losing.
I'm not convinced. Like, okay, if Texas goes out there and beats them, do they get beaten up pretty good? Because frankly,
I don't think so. Right?
I kind of don't either because it's still Georgia, and I do think you should consider that to an extent. Frankly, like how much winning Georgia's done with Kirby Smart, and again, like I feel like they've won multiple games where they didn't feel like the best team on the field. Like Tennessee certainly felt that way. Ole Miss, of course, felt that way as well. But they are winners, and they have like an innate ability that I don't think you can like put a price tag on or a numerical valuation to win. But I don't know. Texas goes out there and beats them up pretty good. I think Georgia might be in a little bit of trouble because I just don't.
There's no way you're serious with that take, right?
The eyeball test isn't going to be great for Georgia, I feel like.
But here's the thing: the committee's telling us right now they don't give a damn about the eyeball test. They have Georgia as the 5th best team in the country, right? Like I don't. And here's the other thing, and something you have to accept about Georgia. And this is a conversation that we could have in the larger scope of college football real quick if you want to get into it. And that is, man, having an elite head coach that knows how to make it happen.
Yeah, no, I was trying to get into that. That's like a big pitch for what Georgia has because it doesn't feel like a vintage talented Georgia team right now.
It is not. But when you have Kirby Smart and you have the winning culture he's built up over the last decade, you can overcome a lot of it. There's not a lot of other teams that have the winning culture that Georgia does, right? That's I firmly believe what's getting Georgia through some of these football games against Auburn, against Florida last weekend, against Tennessee.
I guess I could see like Mississippi State being a game because if you don't play great on the defensive line, your defense just isn't great. Like, I don't know, Mississippi State's shown an ability to score the ball a little bit. So I'm not saying I think if you had to like put my life on it right now, if you will. Yeah, I'm picking Georgia to be in the playoffs, but they are a team that, again, I think a lot of and you are right. They're ranked number 5 right now, so I kind of almost just got to accept that. But I just don't feel like they're the 5th best team in the country.
No, I don't. I ain't disagreeing with you on that. I'll give you one, and I hate to say it, man. I hate to say this because y'all know how good I think this football team is, but I just don't know if they have the leeway. Oregon at 9. I think the committee has told us they need to win out, right? Now that could change because you look at Oregon's schedule and it is at Iowa, which is a top 20 team in the country. Agree, disagree, Dale. You have to deal with it. Minnesota, USC is the top 20 team, and Washington, who's a top 25 team. And so maybe if they can, maybe they have leeway to drop one of those, but I don't know if they do. And Dale, on the road at Iowa, you play USC. You play Washington. I got to check where that Washington on the road at Washington at the end of the year. Those are 3.
But it's easy travel, at least. We know.
But those are 3 very, very losable games for Oregon. Now, I favor Oregon in every single one of those games. And I think Oregon will win every single one of those games because I think Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. The committee's telling us they might not have leeway to lose one more. Where I think a lot of other these one losses, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, maybe too, they got some leeway. They're telling us Oregon might not have that leeway.
It'd be a very interesting conversation. I think like a 2-loss Oregon versus a 2-loss Notre Dame, I think it's very interesting.
Know
And
who's
even
really
like,
won? Know who's really won? Notre Dame. With like obviously
Yep.
the expected chaos in the Big 12, like the Big 12 is only going to get one, and then the absolute utter chaos that we've seen in the ACC. Because you take me back to week 1, week 2, I guess week 3 when Notre Dame lost their first 2 games. Like Florida State's got a chance to get into the playoffs. Miami's a lock to get into the playoffs. You thought Clemson maybe still had a chance back then. You figured the ACC would be a lock to get to, maybe even 3, because Florida State beat Alabama. Now Notre Dame's sitting there like everything they needed to happen happened. And I think we're going to see more chaos in the month of November. And I know there's going to be people that disagree with this, but I'll say it. I'm happy Notre Dame has a pathway to get in. I truly believe.
Do you think if Miami runs the table 2 losses, you think they get in over Notre Dame?
No, we just talk. Why would you ask that? They're 8 spots below. I disagree with the fact that they're 8 spots below.
Well, no, I don't know. You think like how they could climb as teams like fall? You think like if they can get themselves to like 11
because Notre Dame's not losing. And so
like, I agree with that. Yeah.
And Miami doesn't have the opportunity to notch. I mean, again, they go on the road and play Pitt, which is currently a top 25 team, but they don't really have a ton on their schedule that's going to give them that win to leapfrog Notre Dame at the end of the year. And I get why Miami fans would be mad about it. If I was a Miami fan, I'd be mad about it. But
look, the people in the comments agree with me. 10-2 Miami gets in.
Wow, really?
I'm not convinced. I'd be very interested because, again, I think like you're only taking this snapshot right now in this moment. I really think like if they're both, if Miami's like around 13, maybe in like week 11 or something, and then they just win again,
what result on Miami's schedule? Like what win would say, oh yeah, that's the win where Miami's gonna make up jump Notre Dame. They don't have that, right?
Like if they beat the brakes off a Pitt or something, I don't know. Like if they really get impressive
and
again.
That is the argument for Miami is you have to go out and you have to take care of business.
You got to win by like 40 every game.
Yeah, you have to. And look, they have the opportunity. They'll be at least a touchdown, if not 2 touchdown favorites against every team on their schedule. You got to go and cover the spread. Hey, I might just be hammering Miami the rest of the way home.
I don't know if I can do that.
I don't know. They ain't inspiring that
when
much.
You don't score in the red zone and you don't win, like it just
really disappointing. That is to me
frustrating team to watch.
That especially when you like bet on them a lot. Like I love Miami. Like I'm just not like I just think they're an awesome team, and I think they should be winning by a lot. And they just consistently over the last couple of weeks just gone out and underperformed pretty good. Any other takes? I was going to say, what if Tennessee wins out? But I think let's talk about that real quick before we wind this out. If Tennessee wins out, what's the word here? No, they don't have enough. New Mexico State at Florida Vanderbilt. They don't have enough juice. I don't think. Even with
which is a shame because I think that's a really good team. But again, they're another team that's probably lost too many situational moments. Kicking, not been very good.
Somebody just made a really good point in the comment section. A team that's not on these rankings that low-key is going to have a
that's probably your path to 2 for or one of the paths for 2 for the ACC is Duke winning and then Louisville probably getting in second. That'd probably be my thinking. I think Louisville to me feels like a playoff team. I think that's a really, really good squad they have.
I don't think they feel like a playoff team, but they're probably the team that would potentially get
like
it.
Of the ACC teams. Do you think there's a team that has a better likelihood of winning?
The ACC screwed themselves, man. Like it's just flat out they did, right? I mean, Florida State looked like going to be a really quality. There's just not. I mean, it's just a very inconsistent conference, and it's hard for me to envision. And even last year, hold on, back up. Even last year, you know what I mean? With what SMU did, you know, you kind of forced SMU into the playoffs there, and they got smoked by Penn State. And I wonder if those results are going to play in the committee's mind a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. All right. You got any more takes, any more teams you want to talk about? I still think the team to watch is Michigan at 21, Miami at 18. Miami needs help, but I do think at some point they could get the benefit of the doubt because Notre Dame will be a top 10 win for them. Any other takes you got?
That'll be very fascinating at the end of the year. That's all I know. That's gonna be one of those hinge. If Miami runs it and they don't get in at 10
You know
and
what
2
I
over
need? You know
Notre
what I'm
Dame,
gonna do
but
tonight? I ain't gonna sleep. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna cook up. I'm gonna cook up the path for Miami because I know they're a team that it's a team I want to see in the playoffs, man.
They're honestly the only ACC team that I genuinely feel like could win it.
That has the firepower, right?
I think Louisville, like, just because I think Jeff Brom's such a good in-game coach, like, I think they could kind of like rope-a-dope their way into it, but they don't talent-wise look like a team that can win a national championship.
All right, we'll close it out. Hey, decent showing for the first live show from the boys in almost ever. So we appreciate you guys. Run it back next Tuesday night, and hopefully we'll get a little bit better at doing this. The boys may be getting a little bit nervous with the live, so we appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we will talk to you guys later. Peace.